Page 2, Irish Wedding Dance. The key word here is dance. This implies people are going to be moving to it, so we have to be careful on a couple of things. No sharps or flats. We're in the key of A minor. Make sure you can do the scale for A minor, one octave up and down. Actually, it wouldn't hurt you to be doing the scale 2 octaves up and down. I'm assuming you know the scale by now. If you don't, shame on you. Go learn the scale. Also, C major, same thing. You should be doing it by now once you reach this level. 2 octaves up and down, but at least 1 octave up and down. C major and A minor, because they both have no sharps or flats. They're relative to each other. 6/8 times, so an eighth note gets a count. Hopefully that's not a problem. So it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, blah, blah, blah. 2-beat pickup, so we're coming in on beat 5. 5, 6, 1. And that explains why at the bottom of page 3, that last measure only has 4 beats in it, because the last 2 beats are at the beginning. Right hand first, let's make sure we have things, you're moving around a bit, and I have some fingering suggestions I'd like to make. We have to keep in mind this is a fast piece, so the fingering we use has to fit or work going fast. So at the beginning, here it's 5, 6, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, rest. Make sure you play that rest. And right now I'm just connecting everything except for the rests. So a second full measure with the rest in it. 1, rest. Third finger now, just come here. 1, 2, rest. Then reach up again. So we can keep moving around here, but we're using the third finger to do it. That's handy. Then the third line down is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and so forth. Now you're ending page 2 here. 3. Remember, dotted quarter notes the same as 3/8 notes. Just memorize that, okay? And then top of page 3, you're moving down. You have 2 beats of rest to come down here. On page 2, you've been in these positions, but now you're just going an octave lower here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Come down 1. See, again, we're just down in here. You end the second line on page 3 here. Now on page, the third line, you got to come up. There's no rest. Well, you're going to be lifting up between the phrases anyway, and sometimes when you lift up, you don't just lift up, you lift and move at the same time. And that's what we're doing here. So you're just cutting that last note on the second line a little bit short so you can come up. 2 to 1. Doesn't have to be real quick or jerky. Nothing, just lift up. 4, 5, 6. And now we're in the extended position here. Rest. So they want you to use the thumb twice. I really don't like doing that. I mean, there's times in piano you have to do that kind of thing, but I really prefer not to, and we don't need to do that here. So the third line again, the first measure's fine. It's just that broken chord. And that second measure, instead of second finger, use third. Just come down here. And now you're in position. And if, again, we have the same problem at the end of the third line. You're using it here. So at the last measure of the third line, again, use third finger again. And then thumb under, because you can cross under. We do that all the time. That's what I'm suggesting here on these 2 lines. Now when you get down to the 4th line, the last measure, the first ending, you're here, and then for the 8th note, it has an 8VA above it. So now you got to lift up during the rest, come up. And you go back to the reverse repeat sign on page 2. And you see a sign above it says second time AVA. Both hands AVA. Well, that includes the right hand. So we're here. And that's the first 2 lines on page 2. Now when you finish the second line, you come back down here. You got rest, because the left hand is, and that's all down where it belongs. Left hand gets the chords for the most part. A minor chord. Try and get the notes down at the same time if you can. And it's boring here. You get 6 counts, hold it down, you go on. That's okay because the right hand's doing more fun stuff. So you can do. You just lift up and move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1. And third line down. Finally, now it's broken chord. 1, 2, 3. And the second measure, the third line on page 2. A lot of numbers, isn't it? Treble clef. So you come over here. They say third finger. I don't care what finger is. 2 or 3, one or the other. You pick. Just pick one. I wouldn't use thumb because the thumb is a short finger and you have to reach further for the thumb. So generally use one of these other longer fingers. And third finger usually works. But you can use second because it's easier to aim second for most people. I don't care. And then you come back bass clef again. Then on page 3, you're down here. Just go down an octave. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you're doing that. Big deal. Then when you repeat, again at the page 3, 4th line down, last measure, that first ending. A lot of numbers in it. You're ending it here. 3, 4. During the rest, you come up, but not to here because that's where it's written. You got to go up an octave. You got to all the way up here. So you're going to go 2 octaves. 1, 2, 3, 4. You stay there for the first 2 lines. Second line here, and then the third line you got to come down. Just lift up and move. Here, and then it's back to where it's written. Here. Put the hands together. Here. And again, I'm still connecting everything right now. I'm just trying to get the hands and fingers to work here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, rest. Remember the rest. 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 So forth. Third line down. We're here. Make sure these are all smooth and even and connected. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Get the idea? Page 3, top, you're down here. Because you ended page 2 here. And the left hand has to play first. So focus on the left hand, getting it down here. And then as you play that, you can move the right hand down. You can move both hands at once, but that's tricky. Sometimes you have to do it. But in my opinion, if you don't have to do it, don't. If you can figure out a way to get one hand at a time, it's a lot easier. And here, because we have a rest in the right hand, we can do that. If both hands were playing at the beginning, we'd have to move them both together. Fortunately, here, they're both moving the same direction and the same distance, so it's not so bad. But when you finish page 2 here, and you lift up, just lift up and move. And then after you play it, you can move the right hand down. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. Notice these don't overlap. It's resting in one hand or the other. So we finish the second line here. Now the right hand has to go back up here. The left hand's not moving. So you can focus on the right hand. Rest. Now both hands get a rest. And those are just eighth notes in the left hand. Now once you can play the hands together, take it any speed you want, just keep it slow. Get rid of any hesitations, because again this is a dance. You can't be hesitating when people are moving to the music because they fall over themselves if you do that. So your beat has to be a steady beat all the way through. Mess up the notes or whatever, but don't mess up the rhythm. Actually, don't mess up the notes either. Then once you have it, hands working together at some speed, then we go in and put in the articulation, these staccatos, accents and things. So at the beginning, and in the right hand, it's a accent and a staccato. Nice light wrist staccato. And the left hand, it's also an accent, but I want to hear the right hand. And that's not a staccato on the left hand. Rest. See, in this, there's a slight difference I want to point it out here. It's the first two full measures there on page 2. In the right hand, it's accent staccato, and then a staccato here. It gets a natural accent because we're going to feel this in 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. So, but it's the accent staccato, and then just a staccato with a natural accent. But the next measure, there's no accent or staccato. Hold it out. It gets a natural accent because it's the first beat of the measure. You feel them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. But there's no staccato. So there's a difference there, and I'd like to bring that out. It's a small difference. I'm saying don't play them the same. Because it's not a staccato on the second measure. Third line, connect it. Give you any real articulation at the top of page 3. You pretty much connect them as best you can. You can't because they're repeated notes. And the only accents are the natural accents on beat 1 and beat 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Third line down, connect it. Staccato. Now this is not staccato here. Staccato. The first one in the second measure is staccato, but not the second one. So make sure in this left hand there's a difference between the eighth notes, rest, 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 and the dotted quarter notes. So forth. Then in the last line on page 3, second ending, the accents. You're accenting beat 4. You're throwing the accent off. We want to hear an accent on beat 1, but all we get is a natural accent. We get a forced accent on beat 4. Both hands. Now last chord there's an 8V8 under the bottom staff. That means you go down. Left hand, just go down from here to here. So the last measure is here, here, and that's an accent. Not staccato, just accent. Actually, they put a fermata on it. Do you want to hold it out? Don't hold it out a long time, just hold it out. I don't know how long, you hold it out, just what feels right. Now, dynamics applies to the melody, which for the most part is the right hand. You're soft. Whatever you think soft is, the left has to be very soft. You get down to the third line, you go up to moderately loud, whatever that is, and this is both hands here. You want it to sound like one hand played the whole thing, is what it's there. Then at the bottom of page 2, the last couple, 3 measures or so, it's the right hand. The left hand has to go in the background. Here, and then top of page 3, it's both hands again, the same. Now you're loud. You get to the third line down, now you're very loud. See, we just gradually gotten louder and louder. But this is the right hand. The left hand has to be in the background. You have to decide what very loud is, and then keep the left hand out of the way. get to the end of the fourth line where the first ending is, you're loud at first, and then all of a sudden you're soft. There, so it's here. So forth, you got to get soft all. And when you practice these sometimes, it's hard to go from loud and to soft, or from soft to loud. That takes some practice to do, but it's important that you learn to do that. Now, last line is going to be very loud because you've been very loud right before it. Then we get to the speed. Oh, the fun part. Well, yeah, it has to be accurate. You look around and see if you can find the hardest part in it, and whatever that is, and how fast can you play that accurately is probably as fast as you take it. You don't take it at different speeds because that messes up the dancers. Well, it's not a good idea anyway. It's very unmusical. Take it all at one speed here, especially a dance. At your speed, whatever you think the speed is. That's fine. That's good enough if you can play it that fast. If you can't play it that fast, fine, slow it down. Now they've added pedal. Well, in my opinion, you don't need pedal on this. I think it bounces around a lot better without pedal. But they've added pedal, so let's examine the effect the pedal is having to the sound, because that's really what it is. You always learn a piece without pedal first. And that way when you add the pedal, you can hear exactly the effect the pedal is having and what the difference is. Because the pedal indications are always suggestions, pretty much. And so learn it the way it's written and then say, oh, I think I prefer it pedaled elsewhere. So if I pedal it the way it's written, this is what it sounds like. Third line down, I'm going to push the notes down first and then the pedal. And it's going to be overlapping pedals. So in the third measure, when I change the pedal, it's right after I play the note. But I got to make sure I hold that note down until I get the pedal down. If I don't, and then I put the pedal down, I lose most of the note. So here you may have to finger pedal the first note, just for a little bit. This helps the pedal catch it. So forth. Top of page 3 again, it's overlapping. So forth. The third line down is just one measure. I have to lift up on the staccato note or I don't get a staccato note, so watch out. So forth, and that's the pedal, as shown in the book. I don't like it. I think it's very blurry. Ugh. So I'm going to make a couple suggestions on page 2, and the third line down when you're using it. Pedal the first 1.5 measures of that line. So as I'm going to go, and right at that beat 4, then that second C, I lift the pedal. I don't pedal this. I don't pedal those notes. I let the sound go away. I got rest in the left hand. I like the sound to go away. So it's here. That way the sound goes away. It's not so blurry all the time. Top of page 3, same difference. It's very blurry. A lot of that's just the editor or the author is just trying to make it easier for you. They keep the pedaling simple because you got enough to think about. Well, forget simple. Let's just make it hard here. That's more fun, ain't it? So on top of page 3, I'm going to lift up on the second C here. So it's I clear out that sound so I can hear it, and the rest anyway, so why should I pedal it? And I'm going to do the second line the same way. And I don't pedal that third measure at all, because I don't want to blur it. I think that's ugly. Ugh. So what kind of a wedding is that? Just don't pedal until the last measure on that line. And then the next line, the next 2 lines, I agree with the pedaling there. You can pedal it like they're showing you there. It's just forth. Yeah. So when you put it all together, good luck with that. It's a nice piece that people would enjoy hearing. Don't copy me. You got to make it yours. You get into it and you feel it. Experiment with different speeds and different pedaling, even different articulation if you want, eventually.